On the hobby bench today, I'm going to have my survivors looting a sporting goods store for County Road Z. So today for County Road Z, I'm going to have my survivors do a custom scenario that I sort of made up. Now, they're going to be just trying to get into a sporting goods store, try to get some better equipment, especially some better weapons. Just a step above probably the shoddy weapons that they have right now. Just going to get some standard weapons. And it's really hard to try to find that typically in the game. Really, it's sort of relying on your base. If you can invest in a workshop and then build enough materials, that's a possibility of doing that. It's really difficult to do. There are other scenarios out there where you can get like more rare equipment, stuff like that, and that's definitely out there. But I want to try to make up my own, just to sort of focus on maybe I thought raiding a sporting goods store where they might find some hatchets or some bows, some archery supplies, probably some baseball bats, like a good heavy weapon, like an aluminum baseball bat, something like that. So I figured, like, it's not going to be necessarily a shoddy weapon, it could be just like a standard tier type of weapon. So I'm sort of trying to figure out like maybe how to get some of this type of scenario together. And I really appreciate the rules that they have because if you look at it, there's a lot of great scenarios in there, but sometimes I find they rely a little bit on some specific terrain. So I'm still sort of accumulating some things together to try to work that out. But what I find is sort of rather interesting is that they have these little scenario elements where, like, say, a prepper's bag or a locker code, these kind of things. And you go into a separate section, you can realize, what it actually does. This is really smart because the way they do that, then it's very modular. If you have different virus origins, you can still use a lot of these simple scenario elements for different types of games. And that's sort of what I have this set up here. So I'm going to have my main building that I have set up inside with this. And I have a few of my resources set out that are these special resources. And, if they can gather these up, they can roll a little bit later. If they get lucky, it might be some rare equipment. But then otherwise, they get a chance to probably pick out a few standard weapons of different types. Now, to how to access this door, they're going to have an entrance on the side over here. I've got a back door here. This is locked, and it's a hardness of 5. I'm going to say, outright. Or you can have a continuing skill of 8. Have a possibility of opening it up. So it gives you some flexibility if you're got survivors that are of high enough skill. To get around that as an alternate, then I have a couple of options. One's going to be a combination code that's going to be inside a building here. And so they can basically break inside that building, spend a couple actions, get the combination code, and then they'll be able to enter in the building. The other one is going to have a guard zombie that's going to be around. They'll have a set of keys that can also be used to open up and get inside that. How I decided that place is I randomly sort of chose which side of the building it would be facing on. And then from the middle point, perpendicular out for 8 inches, that's where they're going to be. The trick about this zombie is he's sort of a hardened zombie. He's a tough zombie. So basically, you need a defensive 8 to wound him. Also, he's going to spawn active. For the rest of these guys here, I have the number of zombies is 1.5 times the total survivor tier number. So I've got 15 zombies out here. That's quite a few of them. And you've got this one active zombie. So depending on what happens here, I can quickly probably get quite a few zombies coming forward. So it's going to be a little bit interesting to see how that works out. If you want to get a little bit more information on the scenario itself, I'm going to have to link that in show notes. I have that over in my blog. You can access that, like go to the download section, and that's where you can find out a PDF copy of it. But I'm going to call this one Looting Big Jim's Sporting Goods Store. So we're going to see how this all works out. So I'll go ahead and introduce the survivors I've got here. So I've got TJ. He's like one of the top tier survivors that I have. And he's armed out with a heavy weapon. This is a nice little baseball bat. Of course, there's shoddy equipment though. So got to see if I can get a replacement for him. The other one, of course, is I'll have his Vic here with his crossbow. Again, a little bit more of a seasoned survivor. I've also got Officer Dale. He's armed out with a shotgun, so he'll be some range support. It's a little bit lower tier survivor. And wrapping it up, of course, is Yune. She's got a pistol, but really she's actually got a bladed weapon, and she'll be my last survivor that I'll have. A little bit lower in experience. I have her more for her scavenge skill. There's not any extra resources on this map, which would be sort of helpful having her in something else, but sorry, you can try to get some experience there for her. A little bit of mix of some melee and also some ranged weapons. It's going to be tough to see how I get this going, though, and how I start out with this. What you can't really see is inside that I have one zombie in here. So there's a pretty good cluster of zombies here. What I'm concerned is you have this active zombie. If I don't do anything, I can quickly see a horde form me up pretty quickly. So I've got to sort of figure out what I want to do. The other thing, too, is you got 3 zombies over here. So if one of them pops and activates, pretty much it's going to be all of them. So I'm going to have to try to figure out what I do around with these guys. Of course, it's really tempting to probably be over here. It's a little thinned out. I probably could quickly get that code, but I maybe just want to sort of wait off on that. I want to say maybe if we can try to see coming on this edge here, just try to quickly dispatch a couple of passive zombies and sort of thin this out a little bit. Maybe get his attention and get a round 2 where I can probably shoot him. And this seems like it's pretty cleared out. So if I can probably get like enough fire out in the corner over here, then I won't necessarily attract a lot of zombies. And I think that's maybe what I'm going to try doing that initial approach. So I've got my plucky group of survivors. I'm going to go ahead and maybe play this on out and see how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and start off, and I sort of changed my mind on maybe where to move in here. I'm sort of concerned there's still a lot of spots here. I think they're quickly going to get a horde. There's a group around here. There's also another zombie inside here, and that could definitely be a problem, but they're spaced out a little bit. So maybe we can just try to keep those from activating. We'll see how that goes. But I'm definitely, concerned about this. This is definitely a horde in the making right here. And at least if I can get one horde down, that might be good because I can sort of drag that out. And so I was very tempted to go for, just trying to get the code real quick. But I'm going to just try to maybe coax this zombie out. If I leave him to his own druthers there, I think that's just going to be a big problem. If he just starts wandering around and starts activating a bunch of zombies, that's going to be a big problem. So I'm going to maybe try to go for the guard. What I want to set out here too, this woods, I didn't really define this earlier, but I'm going to say it doesn't impede anything with movement. I'm going to say anything deeper than 2 inches, it blocks line of sight. So that'll be a problem with these zombies here. I got to try to get my guys forward enough to sort of coax those zombies out. So I'm going to open up first, though, that I'm going to have is Vic with his crossbow, just try to thin this out a little bit here. I've got off camera, of course, a little dice tower. That's what I'm using. So we're going to see how Vic does here. He's got a final skill of 4, because he's got, pretty much leveled up pretty well and pretty good stat on that. So we're going to see how that goes with that. A 9, nice. So that is 1 zombie that's eliminated, and he's been activated. Now I guess we're going to have to see how we can get Officer Dale here. I'm going to have him move up. And the problem with here, of course, is that he's going to sort of start activating some zombies, getting close enough with that. So I'm going to have him, he's going to fire his gun. It's going to be a big, huge retort. We'll see with this shotgun how that goes. Another +3 on that one. 8, so he does kill off that zombie. Well, actually, sorry, oops. Going the wrong one there. He kills off this zombie here. This one, of course, is going to activate. That's pretty loud. And I think I'm about, that's going to be another one in there. So we've already got quite a few zombies that are going to be active and running around. And of course, this zombie is going to activate here. 8 inches directly in there. So he's going to go move up. And this is going to be pretty tricky right now. Of course, she's got the code in there. I was hoping to try to coax this one out just a little bit more with some movement, but we'll see how this goes. I'm going to go ahead and have Yune move up. This is going to be tricky for her. Now, she's the closest zombie, I think, between the two. Or is that one? I think it's going to be an Officer Dale. That's going to be a problem there. Oof, man. And of course, this other zombie here is going to go up on her. So she's going to do her attack now. She's in melee with that one. That's going to be a little tough here. She's got a +3 on her skill. Just barely made it there. So got that target number 6 and killed it off. And it's nice because it's very silent. That's one thing I do like about this Blades. It's very quiet. So she was able to kill him and keep Officer Dale from getting munched on. But he's in trouble. Because I don't think that I can get, I just can't quite get him there. That's going to be 6 inches of movement. So that zombie's going to chomp on. Officer Dale and hits him. So he takes a wound. That's wonderful for that. And I'm going to have him move in. In this case here, it'll be a 50-50 chance, 50-50 on Officer Dale, which he gets another attack on Officer Dale. And in that case there, finally, he fortunately misses on that. So I'm happy about that. And that's going to be pretty tough. I'm going to be like locked into that melee with those guys. But I wish I could have done that a little bit better, but I couldn't quite do that. And those movements there were short enough. This zombie doesn't quite activate and do anything. So we're happy about that. There's nobody nearby. There's nobody in sight. So I'm just going to start having it move towards the closest zombie, which is going to be 6 inches. This is going to be about right about there. Doesn't quite activate that. Of course, we're going to have this zombie attack again. Again, it would be a 50-50 chance. I'm going to do 1 from 4 on Officer Dale. Lucked out there. This time it's going against TJ, who's got a little bit better of a defense there, but hits TJ. This is going south fast, so TJ gets a wound on that. Go ahead and spawn our random zombies. You'll notice here I've got these little green beads. This is sort of how I've been doing the system here and spawning that. I've got a video on that. But the idea is I'm going to first off is do 1 through 10 to sort of determine which ones it is. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, on down to 9, 10 in the center. And then the other one will just be a radial from that, just, 10 inches. So orange will be which bead. Okay, so we've got this one here. It'll be 8 inches this way. And of course, we've got a nice spawn zombie there. And things are slowly getting a little bit more exciting. But that's the end of turn 1. So give it a slightly different perspective of the action, just to show something a little bit more on the other side. Vic was fortunately able to shoot over here and clear out 1 zombie, so I'm happy about that at least. Here just got sort of messed up. Just bad positioning and just not able to get the stuff off. Fortunately I had Officer Dale come in, do that initial shot and clear that one out. But I've activated a few zombies and they sort of came in. I was able to dispatch a few, and fortunately Uni was able to get in there with some hand-to-hand, get one out. But that guard zombie, just was just moving in and he's just laying waste to guys. They're not able to get some hits off. Just bad positioning, can't quite cover it up. So I'm hoping this turn, I can try to get that cleared out and, at least get TJ maybe to initiate him first and do some hits. Unfortunately, I got a couple wounds on my guys. One more wound on Officer Dale and he's out. So I'm trying to maybe have him linger back and get off a couple of shots. We've got 1 zombie move around here, which is going to be a little difficult, but I think as they move up, that might be okay. That might sort of get them out there. And as long as I can keep things, get this group out here, I should be okay with that. So we'll just see how things go for turn 2. So it's going to be a little tough here. That guard zombie's got a defense of 8, which is going to be tough. So I'm going to go ahead and have TJ there with his heavy weapon. Just get in there and just try to knock that out. He's got a +4 on it. So we're going to do the first attack. 7 + 4. Thankfully, that's good enough. He's able to wipe that out. And it's got that. He's just dropped that there. I'm not going to have TJ pick that up, though, and it's pretty loud. I'm just going to have him probably just maybe scoot outside here. Oh, man, he's just barely 6 inches anyways. I'm thinking I'm just going to have him sit and not do anything. I want to have Yune probably pick that up. I know it's just a little bit of extra actions and doing stuff like that, but I think that's probably the best way of handling it. I want to have her probably go ahead and handle that and moving that around. I'm going to have Officer Dale now move around and move over here. He's got a wound on him. I might switch that out, maybe something a little bit less obtrusive there with that type of wound marker, though. Still outside 6 inches. Going to have him fire. Again, this is going to be loud. It's going to be a huge retort. There's still a lot of things, though, that are outside 12 inches. That's going to activate that zombie, but that's okay. I sort of want to move that forward anyway, so we'll see how he goes with that, shooting that. And again, nice 7, rolling 7 plus a skill. Killed off another passive zombie. I'm happy about that. That's pretty loud, but it's also outside range here. Is that within 12? Yes, it is. And of course, I mucked up, so it's going to move here and start activating some zombies. I think that was probably not the smartest thing to do. So we're going to have a little bit of a horde action there. But it's inevitable. It's going to happen at some point in time. So I've got a small horde there. That zombie heard it, but couldn't quite get into any range with that because I think that's, yeah, outside 8 inches. So it's just not going to move towards anybody. So that'll be fun trying to pick them off. I'm just going to go ahead and have Vic move up quite a bit here and maybe just try to pick off some guys as that comes through, try to thin that number out. Of course, we're going to have Yune move up. That's one action, then another action to pick it up. So she's got the set of keys, and we're going to leave it at that. Now we're going to have the zombies move. Is there anybody within 8 inches? And that's barely there, so that's going to be sort of fun. We're going to have this horde move on in. It's a bit too late now, but that's going to be sort of fun to clear those guys out. But we'll see how things go with that. Now, this is a little interesting here because I'm going to have probably Vic maybe move back a little bit. We'll see how he does and maybe just try to draw those zombies out towards this group. And we'll just see how this all sort of folds out and works out. Of course, applying that last passive zombie. Again, it's 1, 2. Of course, 9 inches here. This is going to be great. I'm going to have a bunch of zombies all within me. And so, boom, there goes another zombie that just popped up. And now we've got a little horde action there. That's going to be dangerous. We're going to see what happens. This is not fun, but that's the way County Road Z goes. Here's a little different perspective of the board. Move Vic up. That was a little bit risky there. Ended up getting a little bit too close and getting that horde moving in. But of course, having that random spawn, I suddenly got another zombie up there. That's okay, because if I can get this horde and try to keep things down, I think that's good. That's going to give me some turns to move around and hopefully get in there and loot the building. So we're going to see how this goes. With Vic, of course, it takes 2 actions to shoot. And I love the crossbow. It's quiet and stuff like that, but that's an issue with that. I'm going to go ahead and have him move back. If he shoots, it's great. I could probably get a zombie, but if I miss, he's just going to get completely overwhelmed. And then as other guys move up, they're going to activate, they may activate on whoever's going to be attacking. So that's going to be a little rough on that. And plus, he's going to be in combat then. And I want to try to just maybe draw these out a little bit more, get a little bit less reaction with these guys. So I'm going to have him move 6 inches back over here. That's going to cause these zombies to activate. They're just going to try to go to the closest one. And actually, they can get one here. So that's going to be on TJ. And I'm fine with that. TJ is going to just be able to wail on them a little bit. And they'll activate, but they'll be moving forward with that. And that's pretty good. So I'm going to have TJ go ahead and hit on the first guy. Knocks that clean out there. That's a 4 inches though. So they're going to go ahead and move on up. Activation noise. So they're going to move on in. Now this one's going to be on Yune. He's going to do another attack. And he's able to clear out another one. Of course, this one's going to go ahead and reciprocate attack against him now. Fortunately, rolled a 5, less than his defense, so he was okay with that one. And now this other zombie will not activate, won't do anything, because TJ is the one that's initiating these actions. So this zombie moved, but it's not going to attack against Yune. Now Yune's got a chance now to pop off one. Oops, we'll roll there. And so rolled out of the box. We're going to roll that one again. Okay, and she was able to kill one out. And it's silent, which is nice about that. So it's not going to cause any of the other ones to activate. So she's able to get her knife into one. We'll try the other one, be very lucky in there. Oh, 5. Let's see, she's got her skill with that. 3, yes. So she's able to dispatch that other little zombie. So, whew, a little crazy. A lot of noise, a lot of things going on, but I was able to clear that out. Now, I think I'm going to be smart enough with Officer Dale. I might get another active zombie here if he misses, but he's going to move to a point where he's got everybody sort of cleared out. So he's going to move in and shoot that zombie there. If it activates, that's okay. Good roll. Roll 7. So able to dispatch another zombie. So turn 2 is a little touch and go there, but that worked out and I was able to get these guys and clear out who I could. Now, there is no active zombie here. So the furthest passive zombie will activate. And looking through the table there, I think that that's actually going to be this zombie out here. So, okay, good thing is I've got the keys. I got a couple wounds on some guys. We'll see how Officer Dale does. It can just like try to pick off some guys as it's going forward. Now we're gonna have this one last zombie that's gonna spawn. Okay, it's gonna be over here, 2 inches. Oh boy. So here we go. That is a potential swarm that's gonna be happening right now with that. No fun. That's gonna be a little bit tricky there. I might have Vic sort of hang back and maybe shoot off a couple guys and see if I can try to thin those numbers out. We'll see how that goes. Of course, if he misses, that's an instant horde. That's going to be fun. All right. So give another perspective action. Was able to just manage those hits well enough, and TJ was able to get some guys out and keep off the defense of that. The zombies were able to move in, but they were able to clear them through. And this all started off with Vic sort of moving back and drawing that horde out. And as they moved forward, they ended up going against some other survivors. The nice thing about this too is that TJ is like wailing away, hitting him. He's risking getting himself hit, but when those zombies activate, they're only going to activate the person that's initiating that action. So even though Yune was sort of caught up in that horde, the zombies aren't going to be attacking her. And then of course, with the silent weapon, she's able to just go ahead and hit the target and get that one off and have those other zombies not necessarily activate. So that's a really nice thing about those weapons is it's very quiet for that. And so she's able to sort of peel those away one at a time. At least that's the way I'm going to the rules. We'll have to check up on that. Officer Dale was able to go ahead and get one zombie off, but we got an active zombie over here. We got a potential horde here. Let's see how it goes. But at least the next turn, we can sort of try to move in and try to clear out Big Jim's sporting goods store and see what I can find. So I've gone ahead and switched out my wound markers, make it something a little bit less clunky to move around the battlefield. So I'm just going to use these little beads here. It's a little hard to do, figuring out what to figure out. I had that one passive zombie over there. I sort of missed that before. And so it's going to be a little difficult. I'm not too sure I'm going to do with Officer Dale on them. But for sure, I want to try to break this up. So I'm going to have Vic go ahead and fire off a shot. You look good enough? Yes, we'll roll a 7. That's nice. I cleared one out. So that's pretty good. He's sort of activated and been done. I think what I'm going to try to do is move through and try to get some of these zombies a little more active before doing anything. So let's just see how this will work out. I'm going to have Yune move up. Now, this zombie here, about 6 inches, is going to be right about there. So I'm going to go ahead and have her do her first initial move, and then her second one move up a little bit here. And that's going to make that zombie become an active zombie. Now I'm going to have TJ move up, and then being 6 inches then, that's going to make this other zombie be active and go towards him. And his last action, hopefully he'll get lucky here. Oh, thankfully, roll an 8 there. So pop off that zombie. It's pretty loud, but there's nothing around, so we're pretty good so far. So I've managed to calm things down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and have Officer Dale just try to shoot with his shotgun. And actually, I realized there that's not a great range on that shotgun. Got to double check on that one. 18-inch range, pretty good. Okay, yeah, that's going to be definitely a problem. So he's going to go ahead and fire off now past the zombie. He just needs to get a 4. Rolls a 3. Unfortunately, with his skill of 3, including his long gun skill, so he manages to take that zombie out. So I'm doing pretty good clearing things out. And this is what I sort of want to do. It's going to be a little difficult. Like once I move in and start doing some stuff here, these zombies are going to get a little more active, and I'm going to have some active zombies that are going to spawn inside once I open it up. So it's going to definitely get hairy. So I'm glad to sort of thin out the numbers a little bit. We'll sort of see what happens now. So there's no other zombies here. Let's do this range here a little bit here. That's 5 inches for that one. So he's going to move towards this zombie here and activate this zombie. So you've got the makings of a little bit of a horde. And that's sort of difficult because if I'm moving around making a noise in here, that's what I sort of want to do. Try to draw these guys out, because otherwise we're definitely going to have this herd. I don't know. I might just keep Vic back there a little bit. I have to see what happens, because I'm definitely going to have a little bit of a horde going on here. I have to see what I can do and what I can work out. Next thing is the spawn that passive zombie. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to be 9 inches this way. Oh, great. And so immediately what we're going to have is we have a horde already. So that actually might work out for me because as it moving as a horde, then they're going to move randomly around. And that might get real bad here. We'll have to see how that goes. Maybe I can just try to manage that quite a bit. I'll give you another view of the action here, just another perspective. You know, imagine you clear it up. Got that one last old zombie out there. Clear off a zombie in the back. We've got some active zombies here, and they're moving in as a little bit of a horde. So we're going to see how this goes, and this might get really hairy. So I think like next turn will be pretty good to go ahead and have, you know, Yune move up, unlock the building, and then we're just going to see how crazy things get inside for turn 5. So go ahead and have Yune move on up here first for her first action. Her second action will be to open it up. And now we'll spawn the zombies inside and sort of see where they are. Okay, we got the first one over against this wall over here. And they've got to be 6 inches away, so they're good with that one. I have another one here. It's a little bit closer for that. So again, they have to be at least 6 inches away, one of them. And then I've got a distance here off against that wall, so I'm going to have another zombie further off of this wall over here. So she's done her actions. I'm going to have TJ then move in. And this is going to get a little scary here. And that's definitely within 6 inches for that. So they're going to have these zombies move up and engage him. And this zombie still more than 6 inches away, just a little bit over 6 inches, which is good. It's a little bit of a breathing room. So we're going to see how TJ does this here. He rolls K, knocks the block off of one, but it's a loud noise, so that other zombie's going to attack. See what it does. Nice. Misses there. So TJ dodges a bullet with that one. And we're going to have Officer Dale move in now. And this will not activate that other zombie, so that's a good thing about that. And he's able to just, I think, get a good line of sight to that other zombie in the corner. So he's going to shoot. All right, lucky with that one. Roll the 5 plus a skill, so he's able to pop that off. And we'll see how things go here. Yowza, I forgot like how loud that was and how central. Yeesh, okay, we're going to have lots of zombies. And in fact, I'm realizing here, they got another one back over here, including these two back here in the corner. This is going to be fun. And this horde. Nice. So they don't have quite range for moving in close to that. So I've got no other zombies out here. They move a random direction, so they're going to be off towards this direction here. I'm happy about that one. So they're activated, but that's just how they move forward because there's just nothing else to sort of draw them in. So that's sort of cleared out. I'm just going to have Vic fire off another shot, and about half that base is through. So I think it's going to be good enough there. Thankfully, boom, he's a good one. So he popped that one off. That's pretty good with that. All right, so now we have that zombie here. It's going to be active. It's going to attack. Oh, TJ, oh, nails him. So TJ's got 2 wounds here, but he's got a zombie on him, which is going to be a little crazy what's going to happen for here. Now these other zombies here, there's nothing in range for that one, so I guess they're going to try to go towards the nearest horde, the nearest active zombie. So this one's going to move on over here, and I'll assume for this one here that he'll be moving on through. And lastly, for this zombie here, they're going to move. Actually, I probably should just move that horde first and see where they move. That might dictate where everybody sort of goes. And that works a little bit worse for me, sort of moving into this rear area here of 8 inches. So this one usually just moves up a little bit, and there we go. That's an active one. Now we'll spawn this last passive zombie where it'll be. Okay, it's crazy. It's going to be about 8 inches this way. So things are getting pretty darn hairy over here. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I forgot that is a passive zombie, thankfully. So hopefully I can keep that quiet and keep everybody from getting overwhelmed. Vic's in trouble, but we're just going to see how bad this horde is. And hopefully I can manage, knocking off this last zombie here and keep things together. On to turn 6. Things are a little crazy here. First off, I guess it's do or die right now for TJ for attacking that guy. Ooh, thankfully, knocks the block off of that one. He's pretty beat up there with 2 wounds. So I got to be careful here. I'm really want to try to just drag in and get these other zombies here. Maybe it's get in the building, but I'm afraid if I get too close to this area here, and I get within 6 inches, we're going to have this horde. And that's pretty much going to mean it's going to be battering down a door. It's going to just start going and going crazy. So, I got to figure out what I'm going to do here. I might have Vic just sort of move back a little bit. He's going to keep out on the edges of the woods here and get a good line of sight up, if these hordes move through. So he's going to be all right there. I'm going to have TJ move in one action here. Well, actually, no, I'm going to not have him do that. I'm going to have Yune move in, and that should be a good 6 inches here, which I do. Good. So she's going to move in and steal 1. So we're going to do that. Officer Dale's going to move in here and grab another. So recover 2 there. And I have TJ move in and just grab this other one here. I've got 1 more in the center here. I'm afraid if I move any closer in, I'm going to start acting as a zombie. We're going to have to see how that horde moves. It might get a little hairy here. So I've got those guys sort of done. I think that's going to be it for this turn. It's pretty quick turn. They've rummaged through things a little bit, kept things quiet enough. Now we're going to see what happens with these zombies. They're going to sort of move. Okay, so I'm going to move the horde first. That's probably the best thing to do here to see where they move. Okay, so 4 inches that way. That's going to make things a little interesting here. So that's definitely going to have this zombie move in, and that's going to be a bit of a bigger horde. And that's going to be better here because I can sort of figure out what I'm going to do with this zombie. And so he's going to move out. Its move of 6 inches over here. So we've got this big horde here. If they drift this way, I'm in trouble. I mean, that's a lot of zombies. So I'll have to see how it goes. And of course, spawning that last passive zombie. And of course, this always sort of happens here. So it's going to be 9 inches here. We're going to have one that's going to pop right up inside the building. Surprise! It's going to be pretty crazy right there. I guess like one just sort of shambled out, maybe a bunch of shelves of some clothes or something like that. There's an actual zombie there. It's one thing I love about this game. The things just go absolutely crazy, and there you go. That's it. So we're going to move on to turn 7. Things are a little crazy in here. We've got one zombie that popped up. So I'm going to immediately have Yune move in. That zombie's going to attack her. Let's see how she does. Okay, thankfully rolled a 4, so she's okay. She's going to try to attack it now. And her combat skill is not great, but I want to just try to keep things quiet. I want to try to keep TJ sort of out of the fray. I mean, one more hit and he's out of it. So she's got the decent blade skill, +3. Rolls a 4, +3. That's just enough to kill that zombie off. She sort of spent out and did her actions. I'm going to have, things are sort of cleared out. We're sort of still quiet with the noise. So I'm going to have Officer Dale. He's going to be risky, move in and spend another action to get that. I'm going to have TJ move and sort of make, I think, the better part of valor of just getting the hell off the board here. So he's going to move on through 6 inches out this way and then just start maybe just getting out. And Vic is just going to hang back. He might just go ahead and move on over a little bit here. It's going to get out of the woods and line himself up with another shot, see how this horde moves. Things are cleared through. We're going to move the horde first. Horde moves is 2 inches this way. So it's going to be a little interesting here. Oh, man. Are they going to be hearing some noise? They're going to be hearing some noise from my guys here, so that's going to be pretty scary. We've got another zombie here. And I'm almost sort of happy that we've got this big horde here. Now we're going to see where these other zombie spawns, and this can be a little crazy. Okay, whew, thankfully. So it'd be this spawn point here, 8 inches off that way. I'm almost not even going to bother putting on the board, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll put that over there. Thankfully, they're sort of coming in from the edges of the field a little bit, but we're okay with that. I'll just give another perspective of the action a little bit over here on the side. So we still have that horde. It's like up in the corner here. I've got one lingering passive zombie here, but they're all right. They're not really milling around or doing anything yet. So hopefully his next turn, moving is going to be tricky. I think I'll probably get Officer Dale out first because he can sort of do that a little bit quieter. And then, have Yune move. And once she moves, of course, these guys are going to activate. They're within 6 inches and they activate, but there's nothing around. So they're just going to move around randomly and sort of see where it goes. And that could be a little tricky. So, and I still don't think I can get, well, yeah, Vic can get a shot off. So he may even just pop off one and just try to drop off one zombie and maybe try to thin that out a little bit. We'll see how that goes. So we're going to move on to turn 8. So we're going to go ahead and have Officer Dale move, get his 12 inches of movement here. And he's going to be over right pretty much where TJ is. And he's just sort of booking it, keeping things a little quiet so they're all right. And now Yune is going to move. So she's going to do her first 6 inches of movement. Get her over there. That's going to be enough in that starting point of movement to activate these zombies. So we're going to see where they go. Okay, they move just 1 inch this way. So the horde's slowly moving around. That might get a little crazy here. I think that we might be in good shape. We're just going to see where the other passive zombie moves. Now TJ, man, I want to sort of have him around like he's melee, but he's got 2 wounds. I mean, he's not doing great. So I'm just going to go ahead and get him off the field and hopefully just try to get him recovered. He's going to be out for a while. I don't even want to risk getting a shot, anything like that. So we're going to have the zombie. Okay, forget to. Vic's going to go ahead and just do one shot off. It's nice and quiet. Rolls a 7, drops 1. That's nice. And of course, it's very quiet and silent and deadly. It only affects a target, which will be interesting because if it was alive, then you could probably have the whole horde activate. But since he only was able to drop that off, then that's good. The rest of them won't be doing anything. So we're going to see where this horde moves. 8 inches this way. So we're just going to assume that they're just sort of scooting around down over here now, sort of like clawing along this building. And that's a good question for that. I think it's going to assume that they're going to probably just move up through here. So now it's getting a little hairy because I think that they're going to have a bead on Vic. Yeah, it's about 8 inches. So they're going to start moving towards him. So he's got to get off the field or get out of here or something like that. Try to get out of line of sight. But I think that we're getting pretty good. So we're going to see where this last passive zombie spawns. Okay, thankfully we're okay there. Is going to be a little closer in, but I think we can maybe skedaddle and get out of this. To get a little bit of a different perspective here, we've got 2 zombies here and another one in the corner. And Yune was sort of able to scoot around. I think she's still going to be out of distance of those, so she can make a beeline. She can get out of here. It'll depend on how bad this horde, how crazy things get with it. But I think the key is here for Vic is maybe, I'm not going to have him shoot, just try to get off the field and just sort of get out. And the same thing for Dale. So we might be leaving Yune for 1 turn by herself, and hopefully she won't get caught up into too much combat. We'll see what happens. So we're getting near the end game here. I'm just going to have Vic retire, get off the field. Well, actually, I'm just going to have him, I'm going to keep him around a little bit here. We're going to see how far Yune can move. How far can she move? So that's a foot. She can't quite make it off, but she can get over here. So she doesn't activate anybody else. And they're going to have Vic move. Just to sort of cover each other a little bit. And obviously going to have Officer Dale move off here. So he is off too. He's been beat up a little bit. Now we're going to see where this horde moves. They move 4 inches off this way. So again, just a little bit. They're just sort of meandering around this building some and sort of just milling about. Now it's going to be do or die. Like, where did this zombie spawn? Is it going to be right on top of the group? Who knows? Oh my gosh. 7. So it's going to be on here, but fortunately it's off in this range here of this 8. So again, this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I got that one there, but the direction of that arrow is going to be over here. So we've got another passive zombie over in that corner there. So I think that we're going to be able to call it. So the following turn, these zombies move. I've spawned this other zombie to give another perspective here of a different angle. You've got this huge horde here, but fortunately they've sort of been milling about, kept things quiet enough not to have them get through. And that could be a little scary because, if I have them near a door or whatever, they're going to immediately just sort of burst that in and just like spill on out. So I was able to at least, try to get that between the building and keep out a distance and keep these guys from getting too active. And, of course, if I had them like randomly roll over here, then that could get really dicey what's going to happen with these guys. But I was able to sort of retire them off. And so the next turn, I'll just have them get through. They'll get off, and then that will be it. And fortunately, again, I think I was lucky enough to get a few zombies that sort of spawn out in the areas here. I've had that one that course, pop up in that building, but, I'm just glad to get out of it. Now I've got one back here on this side wall, and it's interesting too with this one. I wanted to say I'm sort of made an interior wall. This is a really big open area, and I figured I wanted to break it up a little bit. I sort of crafted this little out of foam board, a little wall section included. I have like a little door, so if it was open or closed. And so it's just really sort of simple, basic thing, but I just really want to break it up. Like this might be a back storeroom, something like that. I'm happy with this so far. At least I wish I could have gotten that other one. It'd been great to have a little bit more. So we're going to sort of see how things go and see what the loot is. So I've recovered 4 special resources, and how this works out. And I've got it in the scenario right up. And again, I mentioned it's linked in my blog, and I'll have that out. But whatever's left over, the target I'm going to roll now, see if I get any rare equipment. It's going to be 8 plus whatever I wasn't able to recover. And I was very lucky here. I was not able to recover one of them. So my target number is 9. So I'm going to roll these dice here and see if I get any 9s. Oh, I get 1 9. So I get 1 roll on the special items table, rare items table. Other than that, everything else it'll be a choice of blunt or bladed weapons, or maybe even like, let's say, a crossbow or bow. No guns off that one, but I'm able to get just a standard weapon. So I'll have my choice of that one. So one of them will be a roll on the rare item table to see what we get. Rolled at an 8, so I get roll on the quality item subtable. So I'm going to see what that's pretty nice. I'm able to get one nice little thing out of that one. Wow, that's sort of an odd roll, but I'm going to be happy with it. I got a tool belt. Okay, that's going to add definitely something to me, like to maybe you want to get a tinker or something of that sort. Hopefully, maybe I can pick up some other survivors, and that'll help out. So I'm happy with that. They must have gone through some camping equipment, and maybe found a really nice set of tools or something of that sort. So maybe they had some type of, I don't know, ATV repair kit or something like that, I imagine. So they're able to secure that. So the other stuff here, I'm just going to have to figure through what I want, and I'll have to sort of look through. I think I'm debating about maybe getting a better quality crossbow. That's a possibility. TJ definitely, I think, has been phenomenal at killing stuff. So it'd be nice to go ahead and give him proper quality weapon. And I think I may even just get a good bladed weapon here for Yune and give her a little bit of experience here. They've gone through and managed to get through some fights. I've got Juanita. She's still back at the base, though, but she's got that kitchen skill, that rationing skill. So she's sort of been relegated to kitchen duty to get that little bit of extra food out, but I got to get her out in the field. So overall, pretty fun scenario. I think I might just ride it up again to have the defense of the guard zombie. I think I'll probably bump that up a little bit. So I'll probably incorporate those changes in that. And I like this choice that you've got this option of, you've got the guard zombie. Maybe you can try to get them out, but they spawn active. They're a little bit higher defense, and so it's just questionable. Like, if you miss, depending what else is around them, you might instantly get a horde. And so, usually it's probably better to get a little bit more to get into the combination code from another building. That might be a little bit more stealthy oriented. I was fortunate enough, I think, here that I did get one horde over on this other side, but at least I was able to sort of manage that and get them out of the way, and they weren't in there. It would be nice to try to get in more items, but man, I just did not want to risk getting multiple activations from these zombies. And there's no clear way of getting it in, so they might just start busting through the walls and that. Anyways, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. This is a fun scenario, and I sort of like the idea, as I mentioned, it's just that it's something a little bit different. I greatly appreciate how the author of the books has sort of said, hey, you got these different types of origin stories. This either mystic, or it could be like a some type of pathogen, like a viral pathogen, something of that sort, and figure out like that way you have these interchangeable scenario elements that can match different scenarios that are specific for that certain type of theme. So if you have like a cosmic horror type theme, and that's what the zombies are, you'll have magical circles and stuff like that. Well, you still might need a combination code, or maybe some type of guard zombie, that kind of thing. And so, or a locker that you need to search through. And so you have those elements that you can pull to make other scenarios through. And I like the way they sort of did that. And that's what I sort of did here. Is like we went through and figured out it would be some cool things to do and piece through to make my own little scenario, because I just want to get like standard weapons. Nothing in this equality. It sort of made it a little odd here to try to get a rare item, and I was lucky with that one. But it's so hard to get a standard weapons and stuff like that. It's just nice to be able to try to get a different kind of scenario that just give you a chance to get some simple bladed weapons or some simple blunt weapons, and just make it standard quality and just give you a little bit better, an easier time in fighting. It's so related, I think, getting upgrading those type of weapons, making that through equipment at your base. I think it's just nice to have a little bit of offset, like when you're starting out, just to give you a little bit of a leg up. But anyways, I hope folks like the playthrough. I hope you definitely try the scenario. If you do, please, leave some feedback on that. How you like it, the way it played, what changes might be made. I might be able to go ahead and keep updating that. Make that maybe more a little bit more of a living document for me, just to keep updating and hopefully get a little bit more fine tuned as more folks play it. But anyways, I hope folks had a good time watching this, and I hope I can get some more County Z on the tabletop in the future.